Let me just
Yay!
double check that everything's good to go. Welcome, Just Alive family and community. I am your host, Melissa Krechler. I am an identity coach and spiritual teacher, and I'm bringing you this show because I want to help the population be happier, healthier, and have conversations that matter. So today's conversation is about addiction. I'm addicted to many things, but addiction is today's topic. We're going to be talking from a partner's perspective, how we can help addicts, knowing how addiction impacts families of addicts. And my guest host to talk about that is Sandi, Girard. I hope you said that right.
You did. You said it perfect. Hello, everyone. So nice to be here today.
Absolutely. Did you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do and why this is a passion topic of yours.
I am Sandi Girard, and I am a life improvement advocate. And what that means is that I advocate to you to improve your own life, and I help provide tools to do that. I am also an energy coach, but not in the woohoo type of sense of energy coach, but in how we show up in each level of energy and the difference between anabolic and catabolic energy. And the higher level of energy we function at, the more solution that we have access to. And today, super excited. Today is my 15th Al-Anon birthday, which means I have been a grateful member of Al-Anon for 15 years. And I know there's only 12 steps, but I've worked them many times, and I'm in the process of working them again. And I would not be here today. I would not be alive if it were not for that program and for the decision to choose to take back my own life and recover.
Yeah. So I don't remember hearing that when we had the pre-screening interview. For anyone who's wanting to be a guest host, we do a pre-screening interview to make sure that our energies mesh, because I don't want to talk to just anybody. So in that, you know what, I don't think we touched on the fact that you're recovering.
Yes. So what happens to us when we fall in love with an addict or an alcoholic? And it doesn't even have to be, it can be a workaholic. It doesn't even have to be an actual drug or alcohol. We become addicted to that person. They are addicted to their drug and their alcohol or their pornography or whatever, but we are addicted to the person that's involved in that. And so often when people come in the doors to get help, they're like, well, give me the magic recipe to fix so-and-so. And we're like, yeah, there is no magic recipe to fix that person. That person has to choose to fix themselves for themselves. But what we don't realize is that we're sick, that we are so enmeshed and addicted to that other person that we actually display those same addictive behaviors and we act crazy. And so we get into recovery ourselves, which is, it's a long haul, right? And people want a short answer.
I think a lot of people don't realize a few things. And while this isn't going to be my last episode on addiction, I will be repeating because there's another one coming up in a week or two. So, but that one's an addict's perspective, right? Rather than a partner's perspective, because it is different. So right, hopping into that topic is a lot of people don't understand just how emotionally, mentally, physically impactful it is when you're in a relationship, whether that's parent, child, spouse, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever that looks like to you. When you're in that addictive relationship, it does a number on every aspect of who you are, right? Not just your identity, not just your physicality or your energy levels, right? And there are a lot of negative coping mechanisms that are created based on those traumas, because it's still partially a trauma, right? It's not just the addict that's being impacted by that situation.
Absolutely. And what happens to us is that we develop those coping mechanisms to get through surviving that stage. But they turn, eventually, we don't need them as we get healthier. And, they turn toxic on us. So by doing the steps, doing the hard work, and it's one of those things that's simple, not easy. That hard work is very simple. It's just not necessarily easy. But by doing it, we can release those character defects. We can release that toxicity behavior, that toxic behavior out of our own selves, and lead a more fulfilled and happy, joyous life. So many people that I meet that are in relationship with alcoholics or addicts, they're just so miserable. They're like, can you hear my bird? I'm so sorry.
I do. I love it. I love it. So if anyone's annoyed by the bird, you can, because I love it. I want a bird. I want a bird so badly.
He's completely covered. I was like, I'll cover him. It's going to be fine. And he's like, no, I can hear you and I want to be part of this. He's been through it too. He's been through all of it with me. He went through a very abusive relationship with me. He knows all of the secrets. So apparently he's trying to share how to get healthy for a bird. Anyway, one of the things that I would joke about, because I chose to give away total control of my life, is that my head was so far up this person's ass that I saw through his eyes. I couldn't tell you what color I like. I couldn't tell you what food I like. I couldn't tell you what I enjoyed to do. I couldn't tell you anything about me because I was so wrapped up in either taking care of him or trying to control him, or just the insanity of what he was bringing into my life. And I became crazy. I became suicidal. I wanted to die so bad because I thought that it was the only way to stop the pain. And I had 2 bridges picked out. One was a dry and one was a wet. And I was like, depending on which side of the state I'm in, I got this. I could take care of things right now. And I had an exit strategy. And I came in to Al-Anon and I met all these really annoyingly happy people. And I was like, how can these
What is
people
wrong with you?
be happy, right? Like, they live with addicts, they live with alcoholics, and they're not trying to control them. They're not trying to manage the alcoholic's life. And I'm like, how are you happy? I hate all of you. Why are you happy? And I just kept coming back, thank God. And I have the most amazing life today. And I will say, I met my husband when he had 7 years of clean and sober. And he was my list of nevers. I swore I'd never date another addict or alcoholic. I swore I'd never date a man shorter than me. And I swore I'd never date a man who had a child, because mine were grown. And he was everything I ever swore I'd never do. The list is long. He's all of it. And I felt like I got hit by lightning when I met him. I was like, oh, he's the one. Okay, here we go. And he was sober, and his sponsor died about a year and a half into the relationship. And we had a pretty brutal relapse. We had a rough relapse. But I stayed in my own lane. In fact, at that point, I knew how to handle relapse better than I knew how to handle him when he's clean and sober, because I knew what to do. And I had those tools. And we don't always know how to show up when everything's good and hunky-dory. We know how to be in trauma.
Yeah.
And I stayed in my own lane, and I just hunkered down kept my side of the street clean, didn't try to control him. I didn't do what I call an Al-Anon treasure hunt. We just had a really funny conversation about that the other day, where you go and you search for the alcohol or the drugs or whatever. You go tear apart the house looking for everything. I didn't do any Al-Anon treasure hunts. And, we got through it. And I still knew, I knew the whole time he was the one. I knew, because I knew God had told me and God had confirmed it. And I was like, we'll get through this, whatever it is. And, however long it lasts. And he got back into recovery. Took a few. it took a few starts back in recovery. And it's amazing. And now I work a harder program. This is really funny, because we don't know what to do when they're working such a strong program, and we don't know what to do with them when they're sober. right? We were
Yeah.
like, get sober, do this, do this, do this, do this. And the second they get sober and start getting happy and healthy and start taking control of their own lives, then we have a tendency to really come off the hook if we're not getting in recovery ourselves, because we don't know what to do when they show up for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you get lost, right? And not just if you're married or in a relationship with an addict. And this goes down to my own business, my identity coaching. But when we get into a relationship, when we have kids, when we start working, we start to feel as though we're losing our identity to those roles, right? I'm now a wife, so instead of just being Melissa, I'm Tom's wife. I'm now a mom, so instead of being Melissa and Tom's wife, I'm now, Haley, Nick. I'm all my kids, right? And you kind of lose a piece of who you are. But with a traumatic situation like addiction or being with a partner who is an addict of whatever substance or situation, you're losing yourself even to that addiction, right? Because you now have to focus a good portion of your energy on not only that person, but on yourself and keeping yourself whole. And that's a struggle. Now, I want to segue for a minute because for anybody watching, and I want to say hi to Melanie because she said hi on the chat. Feel free to chat, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to join in, chat, send a message if we're no longer live, whatever, right? You
Ask
want to be
a
a
question.
guest, come on, right? So in this scenario, and I don't think a lot of people truly understand what creates an addictive situation in the first place. Now, and then there's my husband calling. I don't know why he's calling me, but he's calling me. And I'm addicted to him. So I am addicted to my husband beyond belief. I love that man. Like there's no, but I don't know why he's calling me. He should know I'm in a show, right? Like, come on, honey, here we go. Anyway, the thing about addictive personalities is it's not actually a personality. It's a coping mechanism. Addiction is truly and without question a coping mechanism. And not a lot of families understand it's not a choice. It wasn't a choice when it was created. It wasn't a choice when it got to be that part. Addiction is created to either remove an emotion or feeling or create an emotion or a feeling. And I apologize for everybody. I know you apologized about your bird. My soon to be 11-year-old Rottweiler, who's now deaf, is lying on my floor snoring away. And of course, I can't yell at him to stop because he can't hear me. And if I touch him, he's going to get up and try to get my attention. So we're just going to leave him snore in the background. But that's it. And somebody who's addicted to sex, drugs, alcohol, self-harm, personal image, health and hygiene, working out, health and wellness, fitness.
Yes.
There are so many variations of addiction, and it's not created because of a choice. Yes, okay, it might have been in the first place. Hey, you know what? I had a really stressful day. I'm going to have a glass of wine. You know what I mean? Then it becomes habit, right? Then it becomes habit because you feel better having that glass of wine than you have all day, right? People don't get that. They don't get what actually creates addiction in the first place. It's not an addictive personality, and it's not a choice. It is a need to either feel a certain way or avoid feeling a certain way.
And I look at it, there's days when I come home and I'll have a glass of wine, and because that does not bother my spouse at all. That's not his, he could care less. So I have a glass of wine. And he'll laugh. Like I might not even finish the glass. He's like, when you do it wrong, you don't even know how to drink. But I don't have that mechanism, that trigger in my brain that says, ooh, that was good. Let's do more. And he tells me all the time, he goes, I don't understand how you drink for flavor. I don't understand how you can drink for taste and how you don't drink something that you don't like the taste of. And about the time you start to feel something, you'll put it down and walk away. And about the time I start to feel something, I'm like, ooh, yes, now we're getting started. Yeah. And now we're going to yes, we're going to. And I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, I'm a control freak. I like to have control.
Yep. But control for you is an addiction too,
Isn't it?
right?
It
Because you
totally.
don't like to feel out of control, right?
No.
Everybody, um, sorry, he's giving me trouble now. I messaged my husband. I apologize. I messaged my husband to make sure it wasn't an emergency. And he's like, you should be paying attention when she's talking.
What?
Like, dude, he's giving me trouble because I'm messaging him to see if it's an emergency. Then, and he's like, you should be paying. Anyway, again, addiction, right? I need to feel connected to him. So I'm answering him when I'm in the middle of a show, right? Anyway, but that's the same thing, right? Everybody has something that they're even mildly addicted to, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with addiction as long as you know what it is, how to control it, and acknowledge if it's like it's harming your life.
Yes.
Right. And when you get past a certain point of addiction where it becomes, it does start damaging your life, it's almost too late at that point to stop yourself unless you do the work, right? And that's a hard process. So now that we've discussed what causes addiction, and like I said, I know I've been an addict. I'm still addicted. There are drugs in this world that if you put it in front of me, I'm going to go, oh my goodness, like that looks so good, but I'm not going to touch it because I've controlled it, right? But I'm a smoker, right?
Oh.
I'm a smoker. I'm addicted to Pepsi. I should have, Pepsi sponsoring the show because I'm always drinking it in the middle of the show. But that's the thing. I have my own addictions. I know that I'm addicted to smoking. I know that I'm addicted to drinking Pepsi. It's all I drink 90% of the time, right? But at the same time, I know that I'm addicted to it, but I don't want to change that yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that. I know what it's doing. It's not hurting my loved ones. It's not, it might be damaging my own body, but it's my body and I'm allowed to do what I want. But at the same time, it's not negatively impacting the rest of my life right now.
Right.
Right. And that I think is, but even still with addiction, you can't change an addict's behavior or an addict's addiction unless they want to change it themselves. They have to want to do it no matter, and that segues into our next point, right? A family's perspective, because I can't change the fact that you're addicted to something because something in your brain tells you that you need that in order to function at a level that you're happy with, no matter the cost. Right? And for families, it's, I want to save them. I want to save them. I want to help them. They're destroying their lives, right? They've almost killed themselves. God forbid. And I apologize to anyone who has lost their loved one to addiction. I'm sorry for that. And not a but, I'm moving on. So not a but, because I'm totally sorry. The person with addiction, it's like suicide. And I hate to compare the two, but at the same time, it is, right? If somebody truly wants to commit suicide, they're going to do it no matter what you say, no matter how you word it, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you fight, no matter how much you mean to that person. It is not going to be enough to change unless they want to change it.
Absolutely.
That's the heartbreaking part. So now we move into what can families do? What can families do? What can partners do to show their loved ones that they care, that they're there, that, they have the ability to, I'm behind you. So first I want to start with the ones that are questioning whether to walk away.
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. When I came in, the person that I was with was very, very, very violent, very physically, mentally, and emotionally violent. I'm wearing shorts. I'm wearing sleeveless today. I could not wear shirts that weren't at least down to like my elbow because, he would grab and shake, right?
Yeah.
And I would wake up being choked. I would wake up having my head used as a basketball. I mean, it was just crazy. So in that kind of a situation, I would be like, let's get you out now. And let me tell you, it's easy to say, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's so easy to say,
It
get
is.
out. But I
Yep.
tell you what, I left a hell of a job, a really good paying job. I left people I love and care for. I left friends that I broke their hearts because they still had connection with him. And I hunkered down with my freaking blinds closed for a very long time. And I looked over my shoulder for a long time. So I do not discount how challenging that really is. And I ended up getting a restraining order. And he got an attorney to fight the restraining order. And they had convinced the attorney that I was just a crackpot, right? And the attorney actually came to my work. And I said, I'll sign this document if you can promise me this man will never, ever, ever, ever speak to me again. Can you promise me that? And he was like, this is for real. Like, this isn't a game. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. And I share this for this point and this point alone. 2 points. One, you might need a damn restraining order. Go get one. Go run, do not walk, take a friend, get the restraining order. 2, don't let that sucker expire. Just don't let it expire. Keep it renewed, because my life got so much more terrifying when that restraining order expired. Life was shitty before the restraining order. It was great during the restraining order. And the second it expired, the phone calls started.
Yeah.
Him explaining to me what my death was going to look like, right down to the blood splatter was going to, look, all of it. And it was a really, really scary time. So I am not discounting that. If you are in a violent relationship, get help, seek help, whatever organization. I'm telling you, it's worth it, but make sure you have help. On the flip side, if you're not in a violent relationship, I cannot tell you whether to leave or stay, because I know that one person getting recovery changes the dynamic of a relationship. And I have seen people, myself included, be completely happy and live a content and happy, solid life while a person was in active addiction. And I have seen, but not always, addicts and alcoholics get clean and sober because the person that was addicted to them finally got out of their hair and wasn't all up in their business and wasn't trying to control their freaking lives, and went on and lived their own life and did what made them happy. Didn't leave, still present in the relationship, did not leave, just did their head up their ass. And it's powerful. And that's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility.
So I'd like to add on that. So for anybody who is in a domestic violent relationship, no matter what type, whether it's with an addict or not, you are not alone.
Mm-mm.
You are not alone. And I will be doing an entire episode on domestic violence. But you are not alone. You are not meant to suffer in silence. You're not meant to suffer at all. But you have to find the strength within yourself of whether or not you're going to make that choice to leave. And it is okay to love somebody and leave.
You know what kept me there in the violent piece of it? What kept me there was my concept of domestic violence. I told myself, because he never punched me in the face, that I was not a victim of domestic violence. And I will tell you, I personally became violent in that relationship, and at one point broke 2 of his ribs. Like, it was like, dude, you better make sure I'm down, because if I get back up, it's game on.
Yeah.
And it was toxic from both sides. And that goes right back to, we need recovery just as much as the addict or the alcoholic, because our thinking becomes so distorted that we need just as much help.
Absolutely. So here is the, let's see. It is isolating. It is, again, you can love that person and decide that that person is not healthy for you anymore and still love them. We can't control the actions or reactions or beliefs of another person, right? We can only control what we choose to do and who we choose to be, and what our life is going to look like from this moment on, right? And that can change every moment. For the people who are in non-abusive alcohol or addictive relationships, definitely, again, you're not alone. There are options out there for everybody to get help, to understand, the mindset behind addiction, the mindset behind being in a relationship with an addict, and how you can best help that person, right? And one of the things I think, personally, is ask that person how you can help them. If they don't know, they don't know. But what harm is there saying, I love you. I don't want to make this harder on you. How can I help you? How can I help you be happy? How can I help you in whatever way you need me to help you so that you can do what's best for you? Right? It's they have to want it too.
Absolutely. And I'm a huge advocate for boundaries, setting boundaries. Like, you can ask that person what they need, what they want, how to adjust. They may not know the actual answer because they're in their addiction. And particularly, depending on, doesn't matter, where, just based on where they're at in their addiction. But you know what you need. You know what you need, and you know what your kids need. And so if I always tell people to have a plan. Have a plan. And that plan is like this. If you come home and he's drunk and it's not safe for the kids, not because he's going to hit them, but just, he's just not a nice person when he's drinking, take them to McDonald's, let them play. Don't force them to be in a house and make dinner. Have a plan. I hear so many people that tell me they don't have options. So they choose to go home, be at home, tolerate it. But we all have options. We all have options. You may not like what those options are. Seriously, I certainly didn't like the options I had. You may not like the options, but have a plan. Make sure you have we're going to go get dinner somewhere. We're going to go play at McDonald's Playland if they have those still. My kids
go to a park. With COVID, a lot of that has, become non-existent, right? Where you can't go there, or you can't get out of the house, or a lot of situations got worse during COVID because you were stuck in a location together, right? That's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother beast.
Yeah, but again, you're right. It's you have to do what's best for you, and nobody can tell you what that is. You have to know what that is, and it's not a have to, and it's not a judgment, because trust me, honey, if you're in a situation that you don't like, I feel you. I absolutely feel you. But you also need to understand and start questioning yourself. Is this what I really want? Is this what do I want to stay and wait? Do I want to get out and leave? Do I want to put myself first? You have to be the one to answer those questions. I can ask them, but you need to answer them.
And that answer may change from day to day.
Oh, it for sure will.
and here's the deal. Feelings are not facts. Feelings are fleeting. Like, you may hate that person 1 minute and you may love them the next. Like, it's a roller coaster, whether you're in recovery, out of recovery, in addiction, it just doesn't matter. Feelings just are fleeting. But take some time with it. Write down what you want and circle back to it, revisit it. And I can't stress this enough. Do the damn steps. There's 12 steps in Al-Anon, just like there is in AA.
I have this song that I listen to all the time, by Pink, and I'm trying to figure out which one it is, and I have it. It's not showing up right now, But I have a song by Pink, and I listen to it all the time in response to my husband, because I just think it's priceless. But she talks about how 1 minute, I want to hug you, but at the same time, I want to wrap my hands around your neck, right? And I love that song because, of course, 1 minute I'll absolutely want to just beat the shit out of my husband, and the next minute I'm just like, can you have a snuggle, right? And it's definitely one of those songs that, and I'm trying to find it so that I could tell you what it's called. But if anybody's in that situation where 1 minute you're loving them and the next minute you're really not, this is probably a good song for you.
You know what you made me think of when you started talking about that song, which I'm not sure which song that is gratitude. One of the biggest gifts you can give yourself each and every day is a 5-item gratitude list. And I just want to stress as strongly as possible the importance of this. And here's, I used to speak every week at a treatment center. I used to run a meeting there. And one of the things I would tell people, a huge group of people, and I'm like, I want you to make a 5-item gratitude list for every day for a week. And they're like, what do I have to be happy about? So you make it simple. I'm grateful I didn't hit the car that pulled out in front of me. I'm grateful that the sun came out. I'm grateful that my toast didn't burn. I'm, grateful for whatever. Because when you are stepping into that process, it can be challenging to figure out what you're grateful for. My sponsor used to make me start. God bless her. She's a double winner. So she's on both sides of the coin, right? She's been sober for 35 years, I think now. Start at A, give something you're grateful for every letter of the alphabet. Start with A. And I'm like, ooh, this sucks. But I'm just asking for a 5-item gratitude list every day for a week. And then once you hit that week, make a 5-item gratitude list about the person who's the addict or the alcoholic. Because here's the deal, people. We are getting up every freaking day looking for what that person's doing wrong, looking for why you're pissed off at them, what they did, what they're hiding. Like you're just on hyper alert, like you're patrolling. When you start looking for something good about them, the way you view them and your perspective changes. It changes you internally. And it may be something simple and silly, but it doesn't matter. It's gratitude.
Yep. And that's even, I find, and it's called True Love. To whoever commented that, because it's not telling me who commented that, the song is called True Love. So thank you very much. It's one of my favorite songs, but of course, in the moment, I don't like being put on the spot. So in the moment, it's horrible. But anyway, I like the gratitude list. I disagree with it. It's not something that I disagree with. It's something that I teach differently.
Interesting.
If you're feeling anger or if you're feeling a negative emotion towards somebody and you're parenting them and you're nitpicking at them, that's not actually coming from them at all. It's not because of their behavior. It's not because of anything they're doing. It's internalized, right? I have family members that I don't talk to for obvious reasons. But I would get so mad. Like the minute they would open their mouth, it would be like I would flip the switch and my volatile self would come out and I would just be vindictive as hell because I just know, right? And it was because of my thought process. It was because every word that was coming out of their mouth was judgmental. So I would react thinking that they were attacking me every time they opened their mouth, right? If you're in a relationship that you're not happy in, right? Whether it's with an addict or anybody else, if you're not happy, you're going to project that, right? So everything that you think that they're doing that's pissing you off is actually something that might not be pissing you off at all. It's just you're in a mood. So I always tell people when you're feeling a negative emotion, number one, acknowledge that you're feeling it because you have to. This is processing negativity in a healthy way, not the positivity movement that tells you, oh, stuff it down. And that's when you become an addict. Sorry, but it is. Right. But at the same time, so one, acknowledge how you're feeling. If you're feeling negative, and acknowledge it, and then sit back and say, why am I feeling this way? And actually, like, calm yourself down. Do the 15-second breathing technique. Count to 5 while you inhale, hold for 5, and then exhale for 5. Just relax your emotions so that you can think for a minute and say, is this them or is it me? Right? Am I in a bad mood? Am I triggered about something? Am I reacting instead of responding? Because there's a huge difference on those two. But it is some of the ways that we react and we treat our partners or anybody we're in a relationship with, whether that's our parents, our siblings, our children. We react based on ourselves, right? And it's a reflection of who we are, not a reflection of what they're doing or how they're doing. Okay, and the best way to explain this, I love this. If somebody turned around right now, if you called me the B word, okay, BITCH, yes. You called me that, I would be right on, sister. I'm not denying that in the slightest. I absolutely am. I totally am. And I'm okay with that, right? Now, if I turned around and said that to you and you didn't like it, am I at fault? That's the big question, right? And that's mindset. I'm not necessarily at fault because I don't know it bugs you.
I cannot count how many times I called my sponsor because the person I was with at the time called me just every name in the book, told me all these horrible things about me. And I call my sponsor, this is what he said. She's like, are any of those things true? No. She's like, well, then how important is it? But you don't understand. He called me this. But are you that? No. Well, then how important is it? I'm like, clearly she doesn't get this. Now I'm like, whatever.
It does. You know what? But if it does affect you that way, that's when you turn around and say, you know what? I don't like being called that, right? If you turned around, if I called you that and you said, you know what, Melissa, I really don't like being called that. And I'm going to be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you didn't like it. It's just a thing for me, right? And if I did it again, and not by accident, but if I did it again, then you would get mad at me, right? Because now I'm conscious of the fact that you don't like it. But a lot of the times in relationships, and I want to say especially very high trigger relationships, like relationships with addicts, you are going to get triggered and you're going to react versus respond on many different things. Many different things.
You also started to set a boundary, which was awesome. Mm-hmm. By saying, I don't like this. That's the first step in setting a boundary.
Oh, absolutely, right?
Chester, he's staring at me. My bird is underneath the thing staring at me. Hey, you made an interesting statement. You said our reactions are based on ourselves. I'd like to point out to you, they are based on ourselves, but sometimes our reactions and our thinking are based on familial hand-me-downs. This is the way my mom, right? Yeah, this is the way my mom.
That's who we are. That's one of the things I teach in my own, because I'm an identity coach, right? All about identity. But at that moment, if it's something that's reflecting from us, it's because we believe that.
Yep. But we can rewrite our rules. Like, where did that belief come from? Where did that concept come from? Where did that idea come from? So rewrite that sucker. Like,
yeah, that's the third part of it, right? Acknowledge how you're feeling. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is it a belief that's created? I talk about this all the time because it's true. Everything that we do, every way that we react, all of our actions, all of our thoughts, all of our emotions are based on our beliefs. Now, whether those beliefs are aligned to who we are is totally different. That's a whole nother topic, and that's my specialty. But those beliefs are what create our level of happiness and unhappiness, right? For an addict to believe that they're not good enough, right? And in order to feel good enough, they drink or they do drugs or they, create this sexual persona where they go out into the world and I'm this person, when in reality, that's not who they are, who they want to be. They're creating the addiction based on what they believe, right? And how that belief creates different emotions. right? So it's this whole process. If you want to learn about beliefs and identity, just come my way at that. There's links everywhere, okay? But that's the thing, right? Is we don't truly, I'm going to rephrase that. For anybody living with or in a relationship, any sort of relationship with an addict, you can't put your beliefs and your emotions on another person. It is not their fault if you are triggered by their behavior, triggered by their actions, unless those behaviors and actions are directly hurting you.
Violently.
If they are, then you set those boundaries and
Yeah.
say, I don't like that. That's not okay.
Absolutely.
And you set those boundaries, because that's the important part, is setting those boundaries. I'm okay doing this. I'm okay doing that. I'm okay with you doing this. I'm okay with you doing that. But that's where it stops.
Yes. Yes. What's I
People.
going to tell you? I was going to say something, but everything you said was so amazing that I lost it.
I do that. I do that myself. It's actually quite irritating. I do that myself quite often. Quite often.
Oh man, I'm so grateful for this. This is wonderful.
I love this show. You know what? I was talking to my husband the other day, and he even said that now, again, I have like 3 other businesses, and put those aside for right now because I'm passionate as hell about those. He said, I have not been more dedicated or more consistently on something as I am with this show. And like, I mean, okay, I'm consistently on him or my other businesses, right? But there's just something about the show. And I think the purpose of it is giving people these conversations, right? Giving people different perspectives, the ability to disagree on topics without it coming across as an attack.
I love that. I had a debate on a show with somebody that I respect tremendously on fear. Like we had this massive fear debate. We researched and we came together and we had opposing opinions on fear. And we debated it out respectfully. And at the end, I loved her even more, even though she doesn't agree exactly. Or
Well, and that's totally fine, right?
I don't need her to.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
But when you can respectfully discuss a topic, whether you believe in full alignment with it or you believe something different about it,
yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference. Have the conversation. So one of the things on that topic, one of the things that happens is that when we're in that alcoholic relationship or our child is experiencing addiction and we go and we share that, I'll use that as the word, complain to our coworkers, and the coworkers are not in that situation and they don't have any understanding of addiction and they don't know what it's like. And they're like, kick the kid out, do this, kick the husband out, kick the wife out, do this, do that, do that. That's really easy for them to say. And I'm going to tell you that where the two of us come from, we actually don't tell you to leave unless you're in a violent situation. You get the respect to make those choices on your own. And somebody who's not in that exact situation is not going to understand why you still love that person, how much you still love that person, and why you continue to make the choices that you do. So choose wisely who you're complaining to.
It sounds very similar. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. You can't, getting advice from somebody who either doesn't have my superpower, because I can give you advice on any topic because I can put myself there. Oh, it's irritating. It's my superpower, but it's irritating. Okay. I am highly, highly analytical. I'm like genius analytical. And it's irritating. So I can put myself into any situation as if I was the person going through it. I can come up with the thoughts, the beliefs, the feelings, it's all there, right? But that enables me to help in places that you wouldn't normally be able to help. It enables me to help at to an extensive degree. But in this situation, yeah, I agree, because getting advice from somebody who isn't in your situation, oh, it drives me nuts. It's see, another passion thing is I get really like vocally angry about topics like this. Two of the foundations of my entire business, the show, the identity coaching, the spiritual teaching, any of it, all of everything that I do comes down to your choice. Yeah. Your choice. It is not my life. It is not my decision. It is not my responsibility. It is not my feelings that have to be taken into account. It is all yours. I help guide you. I help unlock those decisions and unlock those emotions and figure out, are they yours? Are they someone else's? I help you figure out what you need and what you want and how you're going to do it. Right? Yes. So that you're happy and healthy. And I know you do the same thing, but that's not, and here's one of the biggest purposes of this show. That is not going to be the same for everybody. No. And that is okay. That's totally okay. Nobody has the right to judge you. Nobody has the right to tell you what to do. Okay, I have the right to tell my children what to do and my husband what to do a little bit because I'm the boss. Like I'm the CEO of the house. But at the same time, it's not okay. Nobody has the right to dictate who you are going to be, what you're going to do, how you're supposed to feel. You can have, and I always use this as an example, and because we're talking addiction, it's perfect example. You have two siblings, identical twin siblings, who grow up in an alcoholic abusive household. Okay, now each sibling, one becomes an alcoholic and abusive. Yep. The other one doesn't touch a drink and is the tenderest person in the entire world. Same situations. Both brothers went through the same situations. They had identical lives, but they chose differently. And neither one of them is at fault or to blame or should be judged or commended, because they both did what their individual minds told them to do. Yes. And that's the key. It's nobody can tell you what to do. I can tell you what I think you should do. Do I normally? Sometimes, because I think you should look at it a different way and know that you're powerful and that you have confidence and that you're not controlled by your addiction. Your addiction is controlled by you.
Well, and how many people want us to tell them what to do so that they're not responsible for the choice they make? If it didn't turn out the way they wanted or the way they expected, then they can blame somebody else.
Yeah. And that's ridiculous, because 85%, and I created this percentage, so we're just not going to go there for any, if you're going to ask me for facts, you're not going to get them. 85% of your life is dictated by your choices.
Yes.
And 85. 15% isn't. And that 15% of your life that isn't dictated by your choices is if somebody punches you in the face, if somebody trips you walking down the street, if somebody breaks into your house, it's the actions of other people that you can't control. Right. That's the 15%.
But as Al-Anons or codependents, we want to control those other people so bad.
But we can't.
We can't.
Mm-hmm. It's like the stock market crashing. Ugh. Right? You can control that. That's the 15%. You can't control that. You have to work through it, but you can't control it. And it's ridiculous how many people will put the blame on other people, even though they're in that situation because of the way they believe about themselves, the way they believe about their life, the choices that they've made based on those beliefs. You know what I mean? Like it drives me nuts. And I have so many passion topics, and we've talked about like 50 of them that I need to go back and listen just to make more episodes, because those are some topics. If anybody has a topic they want featured on the show, let me know. Send me a message, connect through the email, all of that fun stuff. So
Wait a second.
Go
My
ahead.
sponsor shares a funny story about choices with me all the time, and I will probably mess this up, but it's cute. She's like, well, you walk down the street and there's a manhole and you fall in. Okay. So you walk down the next day, you walk down the same street, you know there's a manhole, you still fall in. The next day, you walk down the same street, you see the manhole, and you still fall in. Eventually, the day is going to come where you walk down a different street. It's choices.
Mm-hmm. Or you go around it.
You go around it, right?
Yep. Yep.
It's
One step.
one step.
One step.
You'd think it'd be so simple, but that one step can take
one step.
everything you've got.
We can go one step to the left, one step to the right, one step back, or we can take one giant leaping step across. But that one doesn't usually work. So please don't take that.
Please don't jump.
Don't jump. Yeah, I think that a lot of confusion is what causes a lot of issues with addiction and families of addicts. And if anybody watching, I will be doing another episode on addiction from an addict's perspective, the beginning of March.
Well, and one of the big questions I get is, should I have alcohol in the house? Should I not have alcohol in the house? Should I do this? You know, I mentioned in the beginning of this that, you know, I have wine in the house. That doesn't bother him, but I sure as hell wouldn't bring beer in the house.
Yeah.
Right? Because like you with Pepsi, you're going to drink it. Beer leads to the next step, which leads to a really ugly step, right? So I would never do that. But so I can't answer. People are always like, well, tell me, can I have alcohol or can I not have alcohol? I don't know.
That's up to you and your partner.
Yeah. Or the people that are around you. You know what I don't like? I'm just going to tell you this straight up because particularly I watch parents go through this and they hide the alcohol. They're like, oh, well, we have alcohol in the house, but we hid it. That's a crazy maker for yourself and for the other person.
And now I have to lock snacks up because my daughter is a type 1 diabetic and likes to steal snacks and not give herself insulin for them, but that's life threatening.
And she's a child. We established that. She's not. She's young.
But I was gonna say something and now I forgot.
Because what you said was powerful.
Yeah. Addiction. So let's talk about smoking. I'm a smoker, right? I quit for a couple of years when I was younger, and I quit cold turkey. And the way that I quit cold turkey was I did everything that I would normally do. When my friends went outside for a cigarette on break, I would go for a cigarette on break, but I wouldn't smoke. And then I would put myself into all the situations that I knew that would trigger me to want a cigarette, driving, walking, anything, right? Going on break, eating lunch, whatever it might be. I would put myself in that situation to test myself. And every time I was able to say, no, Melissa, do you want to smoke? Do you not have any smokes? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm quitting. And it empowered me to say that. Now, my addiction, because I don't want to quit right now, I've had situations where I didn't have cigarettes and I was like, I messaged my husband and I said, listen, I'm going to kill the whole house. You need to this isn't going to work. Like I need cigarettes, stat like right now. Right. And he brought me home smokes because I was losing my ever loving mind, but, it's choices.
Yep.
But you have to understand that when people are in that addiction mindset, it's so hard to make those choices.
It is
so hard.
One of the last things I want to point out, because I know we're running out of time, or I think we're running out of time, is if your loved one does get into recovery, I plead with you to get into recovery yourself. Because when they come out not using the tools for escaping that they used when they went in, if you're still the same person that you were when they went in, there's going to be challenges, unnecessary challenges. And I know a lot of people on the family side that are so uncomfortable when the person starts getting clean and sober that they will act out in ways to try and promote a relapse.
Even without realizing it.
Sounds crazy. I acknowledge that it sounds crazy. I have seen myself do it.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah, you get around that 90 days and you're so uncomfortable with the new them, and you don't understand the new way that they're functioning, and you're just your own level of insane. It is a weird phenomenon, but it's true, and I watch hundreds of people go through it. So please, if your loved one gets in, you go into your own, go find a meeting, find a recovery program, find something.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Find your own help, because you'll end up doing things to trigger them so that you don't feel so lost.
Yes. It's strange but true.
Yeah. All right. Well, if anybody has any questions on this topic and want to connect to either myself or Sandi, we have links in the description of the video, the podcast. We have them all over the website, justalivetv.com. We're all over Facebook and just about every social media platform you can find. I want to thank you all for joining me. Remember, really quickly, number one, if you want to be a guest on the show, send me a message. Number two, if you want to have a topic featured on the show that you're dealing with in your own personal life, again, connect with me, connect with the show. My inbox is always open. I'm going to get a logo of the show made that says my inbox is always open, because it is. I want to hear from you. Third thing, if you want to sponsor an episode because you're attracted to that topic, absolutely let me know. I have 3 sponsorship packages. 1, sponsor an episode. 2, sponsor a platform. So if you want to sponsor Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, all of those, you can do that. And third would be sponsoring the website, where your information will be on every page of the Just Alive TV website. I want to thank you so much, Sandi, for being here with me. I've enjoyed this topic, and it is so important for people to understand just how traumatizing addiction is, not only for the addict, but also for the families of addicts. It's hard, and not a lot of people know what to do in different situations. So again, everybody watching, if you have a situation with an addict that you would like some information on, reach out to myself or Sandi, because she does that, and let us know. We will be glad to ask you. You can comment on the video, send us a message on the podcast, whatever works for you. And I will leave it to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. This has been wonderful. And I hope that the people that heard it today and listen in the future find something, hear something that connects with them. And I hope that they reach out, if not to one of us, to another organization and get the help that they need, because life is too short not to live to the fullest and too long to be miserable.
Life's hard enough as it is without making it hard.
Absolutely. And you don't have to be miserable. It doesn't matter what another person is doing. You don't have to be miserable.
Exactly. All right. Well, lots of love, Sandi. Lots of love to all my Just Alive family. Yay. And I will see you on the next episode.
Absolutely. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.